And let me share my screen. So are you able to see the agenda?
It's getting there. Yes, now we see it.
Okay, cool. Welcome to the Anchorage IBD Meetup. We've been doing it for, I think, going on 16 years now. We enjoyed it thoroughly. Back in the beginning, someone called me up from IBD and said, hey, we're looking for a meetup leader in Alaska. And I said, oh man, I've got a full-time job. I'm busy. I said, no, we like busy people. You could do it. Try it for about 6 months. Yeah, that was a good one. So here it is 15 years, 16 years later. Haley will be stepping in here very soon. Welcome everyone that's here. We're going to have a couple of polls. Today was a pretty exciting day at the market. I was a little nervous when I heard that Trump was going to announce reciprocal tariffs at 9 a.m. Alaska time, 1 p.m. DC time. And I knew the Fed Chair Powell talked Tuesday and Wednesday. So there's a lot of, there was a, inflation report and all this stuff. And there's a lot to be nervous about, but the market had a stunning day that we'll look at when we look at the big picture. Many stocks moved up. Indexes are looking really strong. We don't try to predict the market. We just interpret. So let's get rolling. We're going to do the big picture. I'm going to show a little bit about leverage ETF performance for so far this year, for the last year or so. I'll show how to use the market surge comparison window. And then I'm going to show you a pretty cool way for every single week. I do this every single Saturday. I'll show you how I develop a fresh, brand new watch list using Market Surge. I think that'll be an interesting little lesson. Let's get into it here. Let me stop sharing and I'll go to the first poll. Welcome, everybody. We're going to jump into the first poll like we always do. Where are you tonight? Please let us know. I always find it interesting that we have a huge contingent down in the lower 48. In fact, the majority of the people. It surprises me that sometimes I may be the only one from Alaska, or we may have one or two others, but that's fine. Oh, we got 91% participation. I'll end the poll and show the results. We had 91%. And we have one person that says not in the US or Canada. Maybe unmute yourself or send a text and let us know where you are. Okay, so I don't have an identification yet of where the person's from that is from other. We got 39%, East Coast 13, Central 0, Mountain 39%, Pacific. Oh, and one other person besides me from Alaska. James says he's traveling in Europe. Thanks for letting us know, James. We'll stop sharing that one and then go to the next poll. Market exposure. Investors Business Daily increased their suggested market exposure all the way up to the highest level they have, 80 to 100%. And I counted the other day, I think they've changed the percent exposure, maybe 12 times so far this year. It's more of a fine-tuned strategy than the way they used to do it when it was just confirmed uptrend under pressure or downtrend. So now we have more ranges and see changes happening more frequently. If you can, I've got 79%. If one or two more, you can click on a button here. Give it about 10 more seconds. Got a pretty good crew tonight. We're up to about 30. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. A couple of people are on margin. That's 9%, 17%, just basically fully invested. 52%, 60 to 90. 13%, 40 to 60, 9%, or two people, 20 to 40%. So I think that's interesting to share. I'm going to stop sharing that one now. And I think we've got one more. Just a quick one. This one, you sort of ignore a little bit of this poll. I guess it looks like it's not fully filled out, but I'll launch it. It just basically asks if you're following our leverage ETF strategy, and if you're following the daily or the weekly strategy using TradingView or Thinkorswim or a different platform. No right or wrong answers, obviously. Just be really interesting to see if people are getting comfortable with and trading leverage ETFs. And I've been pretty good here for the last 18 or 24 months. So I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds. We got about 50% participation.
Floyd, a question when you have a moment. Marjorie here from Los Angeles. You had an email about buying the leveraged Qs either the first day or the last day of the month. Is there a way to get that? I couldn't find my email on it.
Do you have the email that I sent to everyone that has the last couple of years of meetup recordings?
I have that one. No, I don't. Marjorie Nelson, M Nelson 265 at AOL.
Okay.
Nelson
Okay.
265 at AOL.com.
I will send you a link to our meetup recordings. What you're talking about is the dollar cost average strategy. We have a version 1 and version 2. Version 1 is you put $1,000 every single month into your favorite leveraged ETF, such as TQQ, no matter what the market's doing. Version 2 is if it's a down month, you put $2,000 in. I'll send you the link to our meetups. You can find that. I did an update on that. I think it was just last month. Okay, so yeah, I'll send probably tonight. Yeah, I'll send you that link. So let's end the poll, and I'll share the results. We've got 5 people TradingView weekly, 2 people Thinkorswim daily, 5 people Thinkorswim weekly, 4 people different platform. That's great. Thanks for sharing that and letting me know. I think most of you know that Gary Taylor is a company offering training. Appreciate everyone helping us get that done. For some reason, my screen is, if someone has their camera on, please turn your camera off.
Gary Taylor has a separate thing, you said?
Yes, if you Google leveraged edge, LEVER, let's leverage, AGED, and then EDGE.
Leveraged Edge.
Leveraged Edge. He set up a limited liability corporation, and I think he's got some really amazing training modules that give information on the best way to trade the leveraged ETFs and ETNs. So you can check with him to get.
You see, one of us IBD people.
Yes. Gary and I have been working together for the last 2 years on refining the strategy, and he's sort of like the expert on TradingView. He introduced TradingView to me. I'm still having a problem with the screen. Let's see if we can make this work. Well, the question I have is, can you see the big picture?
No.
So since our guest speaker is not with us tonight, we're going to take a little bit more time on this than I normally do. My recommendation, they have specials right now. There's an IBD Valentine's Day sale. You can get a trial to the newspaper, like really, really low cost. 2 months of digital and print for $14 for the newspaper. And there's also, you can get 2 months of Market Surge if you're new and not a current subscriber. You can get 2 months for $59.95, and that's a really good deal. What I do every day that the market is trading, about 4 or 5 o'clock my time, which on your time, that'd be 1 to 4 hours later, you can read the big picture. And if you read the big picture every day, you'll know more than probably 90% of the retail traders out there just from reading that alone. And so let's just go through briefly. The stock market closed sharply higher Thursday, with tech-heavy NASDAQ composite leading the way as Wall Street pushed the major stock indexes higher despite President Trump ordered plan for reciprocal tariffs. And if someone's putting 15% on us, we're going to put 15% on them. And that's in addition to the 25% tariff announced last week on Canada and Mexico. The Dow Jones index advanced almost 1%, while S&P moved up 1%, NASDAQ rallied 1.5%, and all three are just shy of new highs. Meanwhile, Russell 2000 rose 1.2, still below a downtrending 50-day moving average. All 11 sectors climbed. Volume was higher. And it says the latest expansion of tariffs, Trump signed an executive order Thursday designed level the playing field with trading partners, et cetera, et cetera. And then NVIDIA, Cisco were top performers, downside Merck and Boeing. It says Grail up nearly 34%, Trade Desk and Datadog tumbled 32 and 8.2% respectively. Embedded in the big picture is this market pulse. And I look at this every day too. This is where I knew as of about 3 hours ago that the exposure went from 60 to 80% and changed today to 80 to 100%. And here's the distribution days. I think most of you know a distribution day is when an index goes down on higher volume. 5 is mid-level. A week or two ago, that was 7. The S&P 500 is all the way down to 3. And if the market continues higher, these will keep dropping. Here's the leaders up in volume. Here's some leaders down in volume. One thing I try to do every day, I hope you guys can be a little bit patient with me. I think I have to go back and reshare. Let me reshare, and I have to click on a box. Share sound. There we go. Now let's see if we can do it. So I'm going to start this and then stop it and tell me if you hear sound. Hear sound?
Nope, no sound.
Sound?
Oh, yes. I heard good afternoon or something.
That was Ali Quorum. You heard that, George?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn this on one more time and just confirm if you guys can hear this, okay?
Nothing. I don't hear anything.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Thursday.
Got it?
Hear it.
Okay, be patient with me, please. It takes a little while to get used to it, but I'm going to play it at 1.5. And you have to think about it a little bit.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Thursday, February 13th. We were rocking and rolling in the market today. Strong gains across the board with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ eyeing all-time highs. And here now to discuss the action is my colleague, Ken Shreve. Ken, good to see you.
You too, Rally. Great day for the market. Some free stocks to talk about, even though there's a really large crowd of extended stocks out there that have been running for quite a bit. Let's take a look at Confluent. CFLT reported great earnings yesterday. Held really tight today. Also, ICER had a good day tonight in the gold space. Royalties firm RGLD, Royal Gold.
We'll take a look at those stocks and potentially some earnings movers after the close. But first, we want to take a look at the major indexes. The NASDAQ today with a gain of 1.5% to lead the session, closing in on that 20,000 level and those prior highs. The S&P 500 with a gain of more than 1% today. It looks like we did close above the highs from that December timeframe, which we had been looking at in the 6,099 area, closing today at 6,115.07. And then the Dow up 0.8% on the day. Improvement here as well with a bounce, and Russell 2000 small caps also showing improvement of 1.1%. Ken, it does seem like there was broad-based strength in the indexes today. We've been in a choppy range for almost 6+ weeks. Can we get into new high territory? All these crosswinds.
I hope so, because we added QLB to leaderboard today, which is the NASDAQ 100 ETF. This was a great day for the market. The NASDAQ volume picked up the pace from yesterday. You can see it's flirting with a move over that 20,000 level. So we'll see if this ends up being a setup day. We've got a pretty key economic report Friday with the monthly retail sales data. That's become an important report for the market, just like the inflation reports. Today we had producer prices that were also a little hotter than expected, just like CPI data yesterday. But again, the market's performance yesterday, where the NASDAQ was down 1.2% intraday, and it actually closed fractionally higher. Got some follow in line today, and we'll see. But this looks to me like the NASDAQ's in position to really try to break out with some gusto.
When you see positive reactions, whereas previously some of this knee-jerk downside reactions to economic news, especially inflation related, if it's a little hotter, causing some jitteriness. So it does feel like we're seeing a tonal shift. It does seem in terms of exposure, as you said, with QLD, a leveraged ETF there, 2 times the NASDAQ 100, seems like a good way to be adding exposure here, Ken, because it does feel like a lot of the leaders right now are well extended from proper buy areas.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And we felt like we acknowledged the bullish action in the indexes today and felt like we needed to increase exposure a little bit. So like you mentioned, we added QLE in the low 116s. It was at 116.03, I think. And then as it made more progress, we added a little more just below 117. This is a nice line breakout for QQQ. A nice technical move. Volume didn't get above average, but it was higher than the prior session. So we'll see if this ends up being a setup day. There was some apprehension in the market at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. President Trump gave some color on what he's calling reciprocal tariffs to level the playing field with many of our trading partners. Jed Graham has a great story on the homepage of investors.com entitled Trump aims to equalize trade with complicated reciprocal tax. You get a lot of details about what Trump talked about today. The bottom line is that he didn't unveil anything new. I think the market read the sigh of relief there. Nothing but positives to say about today's strength. We'll see if we get some more follow on mine tomorrow.
Absolutely. Some solid action out there.
Friday has been tricky. You and Mike Webster have been talking about that. End of week trading has been,
Fridays.
Yes. So we'll see what the Friday brings. It's going to be big surprises in this monthly retail sales rate.
As you mentioned, if we continue that upside momentum, that 20,000 level will be key. Are we going to hit resistance there or blast right through it? And then in terms of the S&P 500, Ken, as I said, we're above those December highs. I know that's a key level market strategist Mike Webster was looking at. And now we want to see if we can get above that 61.28 high from a couple of weeks ago.
Very even closer to an all-time high than the NASDAQ, but the NASDAQ is up there pretty close too. The volume hasn't quite updated at the bottom. It looks like we got slightly higher volume on the NYSE today. When you get higher volume, we can call that an accumulation pen, not only for the S&P 500, but the NASDAQ as well. This is also time for a breakout, so we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Let's check out the 10-year yield because some concerning action in yesterday's session, but today really coming off in a big way. What do you make of these recent swings here, Ken, and the 10-year yield? It seems like investors are continuing to digest what recent economic data means in terms of health of the economy, what the Fed's going to do. So your thoughts here?
There are still a lot of questions that the street has about what this economy is going to look like in the second half of the year. And that spike in bond yields yesterday was a surprisingly strong reading on consumer prices. They were well ahead of expectations, and the producer prices were ahead of expectations today as well. It fueled a lot of selling in the bond market, and that spiked rates up yesterday. Again, inflationary data today with the producer price index, but the 10-year gave back all of what it gained yesterday. So that helps small caps a little bit. I have to see the concern that inflation could be sticky for a little while. I've been like Trump tempered his new tariff comments about reciprocal tariffs. He's probably going to proceed slowly with tariffs. But still a question the market is trying to answer. In the end, we have to look at price and volume, and looking at that alone, where we're still seeing on market that's acting very strong.
Absolutely. Okay. And let's take a look under the hood at some of the action in different themes. So what about growth stocks? How are growth stocks acting today? Well, let's take a look at the FFTY Innovator IBD50 ETF, which tracks IBD style growth stocks, and a day of some pretty significant outperformance here, Ken, with FFTY up 5.1%, majorly outpacing the major indexes today.
Growth stocks have been acting well for quite a while, and it was a really nice move off lows for FFTY when it hit that low of 27.98. This was an unequivocally bullish technical breakout today. And you can see volume picked up the pace. It was above average, almost double what it normally trades. Nice breakout here, and proof positive that growth stocks continue to work nicely in this market.
Okay, let's take a look at XLC. 2 of the MAG 7 names are in here. We've seen relative outperformance for the last couple of weeks, and now clearing a tight range of almost 1.2% on the day.
This was interesting because Meta Platforms is the highest weighted stock in the ETF. Meta actually lagged the market today, working on something like 17, 18 up sessions in a row, setting records on a daily basis. Even though Meta is the top holding of XLC, T-Mobile, which is the 4th highest weighted stock, or maybe the 5th highest weighted stock, that was up 3.84% today. So I like the price action in XLC. People looking for some ETF exposure got a nice little breakout today. When you look at where the stock is trading in relation to that left side hider of 102.67, it doesn't seem too stretched here.
Let's take a look at some individual names. Confluent, we'll start there. CFLT in the database software group broke out on earnings on Wednesday and is holding within a buy zone.
The company is known for its data streaming platform for enterprise clients. This was a beautiful breakout yesterday from a big long base. And then when you saw the move like Confluent made yesterday. Obviously, a huge price gain. You can see that the stock breaking out of a long consolidation. It was down today in some heavy volume, but it actually held pretty tightly. So this is price action that you want to see after a breakout. So we're going to keep an eye on this one for leaderboard. We like the top line growth here. We're just going to see how well these candidates hold in coming days. If it continues to show strength and support, hold near the top of this long consolidation, we could find a way to go for leaders. There's lots of like here. You've got strong annual estimates for 2025 and 2026. So the top line growth is expected to be strong for quarters. It's a mid cap stock. I'm going to like here.
Okay. And we have seen a lot of leadership lately coming out of the software sector. So I guess that would be the only thing for investors to think about right now is exposure to this group, right? Because there have been opportunities and other names in the wider software sector. A couple of weeks ago when we had that DeepSeek day, a lot of the AI stocks, particularly in the chip area, as well as the alternative energy space, all got hit really hard. So if you were really concentrated in that, that could have been an issue for you. I'm thinking about software exposure here too. Not that we're going to see some similar DeepSeek-esque threat here, but just thinking about that diversification versus concentration.
Yeah, we had a big earnings mover today on leaderboard, one of the top performing stocks in software. Kind of a wild day on price action. It was up more than 35%. It closed down here at slow, but still up 24%. The amount of strong earnings reports I've seen in the enterprise software space has been pretty impressive. It's not surprising to see this group outperforming just a lot of good earnings reports and finding that a lot of these stocks that are selling at high multiples are maintaining their solid growth rates. Still seeing a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the clear winning sector to come out of this earnings season has to be software. I just see like report after report, with few exceptions, a lot of big upside moves here from the group on earnings. What was the area that was pretty resilient when a lot of other AI stuff was blowing apart? The software game. That's really sort of a tell when the relative strength started appearing for this group.
No doubt. Totally agree.
Okay, moving on. RGLD continuing to see some impressive action in the gold, silver, and gems area, Ken, and Royal Gold among them.
Trying to break out of a long consolidation here, multiple up weeks in a row. You can look back over the past 4 or 5 weeks and see a lot of upside volume. It definitely looks like one of the gold stocks under accumulation here. We'll keep an eye on this to see if it can ultimately break out with conviction. It off highs just a little bit as it approached those recent highs of 154.16 and 155.10. This is one that could drift lower in light volume and you could get a decent entry. Makes sense to have some exposure at this point. We're seeing so much strength in this area. You can see that the GLD has been on a tear, a big move in a short amount of time. So maybe waiting for a little pullback here, looking at the GLD, maybe down to these short-term support levels might be a better course of action rather than chasing it up here, but they're still showing a lot of strength.
Absolutely an area to watch, no doubt. Okay, and now let's take a look at a couple of earnings movers after the close.
One is to take on Pfizer, just an
yeah. Actually, yeah, how did I miss that?
I don't know, but I just it's a good looking setup here, and I had a very positive response to earnings. Now, the CEO here is head up the Social Security Administration. He was appointed by Trump. You can see a really nice earnings report recently. This one is adjusting gains pretty well. I got a nice signal today after 2 declines in a row. A stock that's still holding in a nice. It's a large cap liquid name and really steady track record of earnings and sales. One-time leader and still looking good.
Absolutely, here's monthly chart. Thing of beauty.
Looks just like a long-term leader.
Well, thanks for pointing out that action, Ken. Very compelling as it sits in the buy zone. Let's take a look at earnings after the close. Twilio earnings are out. I'm not seeing it show up on the chart yet. Ed was letting us know that the stock was down sharply. Stock can be volatile after hours, so we will keep that in mind. I'm seeing it down about 5%. They did pre-announce and then a gap up and treated nice and tight. We'll have to see what the call is like. We'll have to see how the overnight action ultimately shakes up. Ken, let's take a look at some other names. So this is enterprise software. Here's security software. Palo Alto earnings are out here as well. I believe this one is also down. Let me just check the tape here. I'm seeing this with a 5% decline here, Ken.
Yeah, so Palo Alto Networks, we've seen a lot of strong performance in this group from the likes of Fortinet, Rubrik. Palo Alto is probably the most commonly known name in this group, and you can see that relative strength rating of 73, even though it's trying to break out of the base here. It has no bit of a laggard when it comes to other strong performers in the group. Down 5% on earnings. Twilio, a monster performer in the enterprise software group. We haven't seen too many stocks sell the news, but this has been showing a lot of strength. Let's see the details of the report. What's been amazing is that even stocks rallying sharply ahead of earnings, whether it was a Palantir or countless examples, stocks that looked very extended, have continued on after making big pre-earnings moves. Surprised we haven't seen more of the sell the news scenario. Still got a lot of earnings reports to go through. GoDaddy is another one. GDDY reporting after the close today. Other top performers. So another stock that's down on the results. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
GoDaddy down about 3.8%. Roku up 14%. Relative strength of 86. A choppy chart in recent months, turning around after a big slump, trying to make a comeback, up about 13-14%. Airbnb, let's check out that one as well, up 12%. Even more of a laggard stock lately versus Roku. Maybe if it can hold this strong gain into tomorrow, that can kick off a turnaround for this stock. Looks like we're seeing a gain of about 3.4% here in the regular session today. The stock up 8.4% to retake the 50-day line. And DraftKings up about 7.7% on its quarterly report. We've seen a long phasing pattern for DraftKings headed into today. The stock up almost 10%. If it can hold this gain of about 7-8%, it looks like it would be a breakout that goes back last spring.
Some good news and some bad news on the earnings front. I'm glad we were able to end with some earnings gainers. Bottom line here, bullish day for the market. The bears are still scratching their heads and saying, how can the market be going up when we're getting inflation data like we saw yesterday and more inflationary data like we saw today? Price and volume tell us there's money coming in from the sidelines. So you got to respect the trend and look for a stop to buy. It is getting trickier, at least in the growth stock space. You want to be careful not to chase, but at least on leaderboard, we found that QLD was a good hand today. Hopefully we'll enjoy a nice breakout there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what tomorrow brings. Thank you so much, Ken, as always. And thank you everyone for tuning in.
Okay, I watch it at 1.5 and get used to it, but that way you can be more efficient use of your time. I hope that was okay with everybody and I didn't have anybody trying to figure out what's going on. The next thing I'd like to do is go through some market surge screens. Let me share a screen. Let me stop and see any questions out there before I go over to market surge. Okay, I don't hear any. Wait, can you see market surge?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone know what leveraged ETF is up 84% year to date? You're looking at it. The gold miners times 3. One feature that I really like to use on Market Surge is this little window here that I got my cursor on near the right-hand corner. If you click on that, it will show you the percent performance. Maybe I'll try it again and see. I've got this little indicator that says things are slow here. I don't know if I can put in another one. Oh, it allowed me to do that. Okay, so what this is a 12-month summary. So while we're waiting for things to catch up, I'll just put in, well, now it's not letting me put anything more in. And it was just like we have a bandwidth thing going on. I use this very frequently. It's a really handy tool as comparison tool. You can put in mutual funds, individual stocks, ETFs, and you compare them from January 1 or for 1 year or for 2 years. For whatever reason, we're into a bandwidth problem. Let's see if I load it again. Oh, now we don't have a bandwidth problem. I'm going to make this 31, and I'll make this 12. This should show us year to date. You can see year to date, GDXU up 84%. The 2 times miners is up 53%. If we put in FNGU, it's up 16.8. You can see the comparison on the lines. And so this shows you right here, oh, this one's up 16%. If we put in the financial triple FAS, that's up 19%.
I believe it's a 2x.
Okay, so there's AGQ up 26%. In the last year, silver has gone almost nowhere, where gold has taken off like a rocket. There's some kind of unusual demand for gold. I think mining is more prolific and there's more supply for silver. Last year, about January, you could go to Costco's website and buy an ounce of gold for $2,000. If you go to Costco with a Costco credit card, you get a 4% rebate. They'll mail it to you for free. That same 1 ounce of gold that you could have bought last January for $2,000 an ounce is now about $2,950 an ounce. So it's almost up 50%. Last year in January, you could have bought silver for about $29 an ounce, and now it's about $32. Silver really hasn't gone anywhere.
The reason why silver doesn't run is because silver is considered poor man's gold. Usually when gold is in its final run, that's when silver starts running and catches up.
I saw a funny video. I think it was yesterday, and there was a guy like in a bullion store or something, and someone asked him, how much silver do you think each person in America should own? The guy said, own your weight in silver, which is like 180,000. Some people are afraid of paper money and all that. They think of conspiracies and all kinds of things here. But anyway, in the comparison window, the sad leveraged ETF, which historically has been on fire, is since January 1, the SOXL is only up 4.25%. So it's nice to see today was a strong up day. And what I'm going to do is change this to 13 and this to 2. And this will show you a 12-month performance. GDX up 178, Nugget 128, FNGU 121. It's unbelievable to me. In 12 months, SOXL's down 22.72%. That's why you need really good, solid buy and sell rules, because there's times when SOXL could be maybe one of your best holdings, but there are other times when you shouldn't own it at all. This shows you how to use MarketSmith in the comparison window. There's a pretty cool ETF that simulates blue chip growth. It's a mutual fund that is one of the best mutual funds out there. If we look at this ETF in 1 year, it's up 34%. You can put in ETFs, you can put in mutual funds. If you're debating on an individual stock, if there's one you would think of whether you should prefer it over another, the comparison window is one tool among many tools you can use. Let's look at Apple. How's Apple compared to FBCG? Or how about NVIDIA? You can see NVIDIA, it's much more volatile, but in a 1 year comparison, NVIDIA is up 87%. If we look at this app 11, wow, look at that one. 929%. How come I don't know any of that one? What's going on, Floyd? It's a nice little feature that most of you are probably aware of, but if not, you now know. I wanted to show you something with MarketSmith that I have been doing for probably 6 or 7 years, maybe longer, maybe even 10 years. Every Saturday, or if I get busy on Saturday, every Sunday at the latest, I go through this Bill O'Neill market surge screen. There's 81 items showing right here. Let me show you how I use this. I'd be curious if someone has a different strategy. These 81 symbols are shown strictly for an alphabetical ranking only. Let me show you what I do. And it's real easy. If you use the space bar, you can go through these 81 stocks really fast. So what I like to do is I say, out of those 80 stocks, can I find 10 or 12 intriguing companies that I should do some more research on as a potential candidate to buy, if not in the coming couple of weeks or so? Here's what I do. This is ACI Worldwide. And one of the first things I do is if I see a negative earnings, it's like if you're on a dating site and you swipe. I'm just going to swipe this one and say, no, they have negative earnings. I'm not interested. So I just hit the space bar. And here's ACV auctions. The other thing I do is when I come down here where the PE is shown, you see where my cursor is. If it says NA, I don't look at it, even though the earnings are showing plus 162% and up 437. This might actually be a good company, but from my quick and dirty screening, if I see an NA over here, I say, nope, I'm not going to do it. So here's a mining company. And I see a very small negative here, so I'm almost sort of violating a rule when if I want to consider this one. But if I go to the next, if I hit the space bar, I'll find one that doesn't have a negative, Alamos Gold. And look, this year predicted 50% growth in earnings, and next year 57% growth. So they say next year the earnings should be $1.25. And if I say the low PE is indicated as 26, and if I take a 26 times $1.25, it says this has the potential to be a $32 stock, which is roughly 50% higher than its current price. Now, this is purely reflecting not only maybe they're doing good mining work, but also reflecting the tremendous increase in the price of gold. Here's what I like to do. Let's see if I can bring up. Can you see a PowerPoint screen that says one way to use MS O'Neill screen? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so here are the two mining companies we just looked at, AEM and AGI. So let's go to current slide. So I look at the current price. What is the projected on the O'Neill screen? What is the projected 2024 earnings percent gain, or projected 2025% earnings gain? What are the projected earnings in a dollar per share? And on the lower right-hand corner, what is the indicated PE? The current price is 101. If you multiply 521 times 25, you get 130. So that's projecting there's a potential for this stock to go up 30% in the next 6 to 12 months. AGI is showing a 40% potential price gain, and it's only a $23 stock. So let's go back to the O'Neill screen now. And I'm not going to go through all 81 of these, but for example, if I hit the space bar, because there's no indicated PE, I'm just going to skip this one. Also, it was down 90% last year on earnings. Here's Alaska Airlines. And this is a pretty amazing stock. I bought Alaska Airlines around September and I sold call options on it. I got out around 45. And with the stock increase and the options, it was a pretty sweet profit. I was patting myself for getting out at 45. Here's a 72. What? Are you kidding me? Alaska Airlines has done phenomenal. And notice the projected earnings increase, 25% this year compared to last year and 29%. These little green arrows indicate that analysts have recently increased their earnings projection. Green arrow up is a good indicator. I'm not recommending Alaska Airlines. Airlines typically are a risky group. Here's your App 11 with a giant gap up today. Here's Argenx, and I've noticed it's an NA over here. I just skip it. Outdoor Lifestyle. See, I see this negative 55. I'm going to skip it. I don't want to deal with it. Anglo Gold. I got an NA over here, so I'm going to skip this one. Here's Broadcom. Look at Broadcom, designer analog integrated circuits for telecom, industrial, automotive, and computing markets. Pretty nice earnings increase, although I see a down red arrow here. Notice they're predicting 764 on a PE of 35, and it's a current price of 235. If we take 7.64 times 35, an indicated price is 267. And they pay a 59-cent dividend quarterly. Now, let me show you something that I also do. When I see a $6 earning on a PE of 65, that's roughly $300 or $400. If I take 629 times 65, that's an indicated price of $408. Well, this baby's trading at 664. So when I see that, I'm going to go, nope, nope, this guy may be a great stock to own and may go higher, but right now, based on the earnings and the PE history, it's way up there. It's like $200 higher than what my little formula projections, so I just skip it. BCS, $2 times 8 is about 6. This might be a consideration. I see these little green arrows. Birkenstock, nice earnings gains. $2 on 36 at 72. It's trading at 56. I went through the entire screen this afternoon, and I'll show you the end result. Are you seeing a spreadsheet screen with the O'Neill stocks?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, George. Look at number 18. It's a financial stock, and it's showing a potential 468% gain. I'm very suspicious when I see something like that. I would not automatically just say, I'm going to go out and buy NC because it's the best one on the list. When I see a projected gain, and I think this 117 PE is a little suspect because I believe last quarter, or maybe 2 quarters ago, it was an NA. So I don't trust this number at all. But I look at ISRG. This is a robotic surgery company. It's showing a potential gain of almost 20%. Halo is intriguing to me, almost a 40% potential gain. Every weekend, I develop a fresh, brand new watch list, and I start with a brand new one. And by doing this over the years, I have found some really killer winning stocks that I otherwise would not have owned. You can go through with MarketSmith. You can access the Growth 250. They probably have 100 different kinds of screens you can use. There's stocks that have gapped up, stocks breaking out, stocks at all-time high, or etc. But I'm just giving you an example of one of the ways I developed watch lists is with this O'Neill screen. And for example, let me put in Halo. I don't own the stock. Halo seemed interesting to me. Halozyme Therapeutics. It's in a biotech group, develops recombinant human enzymes and novel oncology therapies that target tumor microenvironments. So this must be a form of chemotherapy, potentially. They were losing money, and then they went profitable. And once they went profitable, the profits have increased every year. It shows a PE of 16. Here is a $60 stock. If we look on a weekly chart, 80 is up here. And is this a company that has a potential by some means of getting up to 80? Is it worth looking at? You can look at non-GAAP earnings guidance to 4 to 420. Look at their revenues, see what their sales are. It's not a really large company. Sales of 290 to 285 million. That's a pretty small company, actually. But look at all the mutual fund ownership is somewhat stable. The management owns 3%. I might not consider a company like this if I wasn't using the O'Neill screen. If you look at a monthly chart has an interesting pattern. If we go like this, of higher lows over time. So we got a pretty nice upward sloping channel. The volume is 1.2 million. That's not bad. We've gone through a recent correction. Pattern recognition is on. It's not showing a cup with handle. It's showing a flat base. See a type of a cup here myself a little bit. If you take the advanced IBD training, they sometimes show you how you can take the left-hand side of the cup and draw a downward slope to get a potential early entry. Instead of waiting until it gets all the way back up here to 65, you might get in around 59 or 60. If any of you done any advanced training, you know about this downward sloping approach. I'm going to stop and see if there's potential questions about market surge and maybe this O'Neill screen and the way I go through and develop a new watch list every week. Any questions?
How accurate is it?
Define what you mean by accurate.
Using your formula of multiplication and the price appreciation, does it pan out or is it all over the place?
I would say that, for one, off my watch list, if I'm going to buy a stock, I may only buy one or two off of that whole list. And I have success better than 50% of the time, but not like 80% of the time. And so if I pick one up and within 30 to 45 days, I'm not seeing good price appreciation, I'll just blow it out and find something else. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, George.
No, that's answering. Thank you.
But I have found several stock. One thing that makes me happy is sometimes I'll find a stock on the O'Neill screen and later it shows up on the IBD 50 or sector leaders. And sometimes I picked one up before it gets on one of those lists. Oftentimes when a stock makes the list, it gets additional attention and volume. It's just one tool. I think there was someone else that had a question.
Roy, what are the two figures you take to get your result?
Okay. I take the projected earnings in this particular case, $5.05. I take that by the lowest indicated PE on the current quarter down here. So I take 505 times 16, and that gives me $80.80. And I notice that it's only currently trading at $58, $59. So I'm going, okay. And then I see the description of what it is they're doing. And when I look at the weekly chart, I look at earnings per share, 48, 47, 74, 75, 82, 79, all the way up here, $1.16. That's estimated earnings. I look at the sales. The sales are going up. There are not a great increase in number of mutual funds. I'd like to, for some reason, it was 830, went down to 789. That's more than the 759. So this is a little bit of a negative right there. I see an earnings per share rating of 98, SMR rating of an A, composite rating of 97, timeliness of an A. Sponsorship is down, that's a D, but am I answering the question?
Yes, you are. Of course, with a biotech, you never know if some trial's going to blow up or something. So biotech is always tricky.
Correct. That's right. So if I go back to this spreadsheet, let's look at, and sometimes you don't want to swing for the fences, go for one like, this was an intriguing one. EBC. It's an $18 stock. So let's go look at EBC. Financials and banks sometimes make me a little nervous, but it's paying a 12-cent dividend. It's got green arrows here on earnings. It's gone from $1 to $1.06, $1.40. For some reason, earnings are projected to jump 40%. What's going on there? And then up another 15%. So here's an $18 stock. And so if we take the $1.71, we multiply it by 18, that gives us $30. If I go to a weekly chart, look at this earnings line. Earnings were going down and then turned. We were going flat for quite a while. Then the flavors changed just a little bit. We got a cup formation. I'm not recommending anything, but something's going on. I don't know what happened here. They were showing negative quarterly earnings and then boom. I don't know if they bought somebody out, if they got a new CEO. That'd be worth looking into and find out why in the world did this Eastern Bank shares have this explosive quarter. I don't think I'd buy it before I heard something about it. It's a relatively new company that IPO'd about 5 years ago. If I knew anybody in the Northeast, I'd call them up and say, do you know anything about this company? on the Zoom meeting to use Eastern Bank shares?
I do know a company that does report on S&Ls and different banks, the head man there.
Okay. So, any other questions out there? Because I'm about out of steam here with Haley being ill and not able to do his presentation on behavioral finance, which we'll probably do next month. But I did want to go through and show you briefly, and then I'm more than happy to take questions. Let's look at a few stocks. If you listen to IBD Live, you've been hearing about Dutch Brothers forever. Their competitor was Starbucks. Look what they did today. Unbelievable. Up 29% in one day. Earnings per share was up 75%. It's like, wow. That's like pretty incredible. We saw gap up 24%. I don't know if this is a gap up or not, but here's Duolingo. Yeah. Up 8% on a pretty expensive stock.
Dutch Brothers might be a good one because it actually crossed its all-time high price from 2021.
If I go here to the weekly, oh yeah, look at that right there. Right after it IPO'd, you got all the way up here, and that was like 4 years ago. Look at this beautiful cup with handle right there. Wow. Although look at that undercut. You would have been blown out either here or here. Even though like a good price at 34, it gets all the way down. You would have been blown out. But then right here, boom. There's a good buy point right there, about 41 or 2. And here it is now 100% higher. So I've never been to one of these. It says they're from Grants Pass, Oregon. I'm not recommending Starbucks to anybody. Right? Look at Starbucks. They got a new CEO, and they've been coming back from around $70 all the way up to $113 in just a few months. The one that surprises me the most is how Kava has been struggling so hard. Cup with handle there. Their last earnings report, they were up 150%. I haven't been to one of these either. They don't have these in Alaska. Root is a stock that had a really good day today. This is app-based auto insurance, and they've never made a profit in the history of the company. The crazy thing went up 17% today.
Well, you have to get a person on the phone. If you don't have an order in there, you have to call Schwab. If there's some discrepancy.
Okay, we'll mute that one. Let's go back to, you guys see market surge again?
Yes.
And let's look at DoorDash. I'm not sure who, it must be all these young people. I've never used something like DoorDash in my whole life, but look at that nice uptrend from 99 to 205 in about 7 months. That's pretty amazing. Is MCO?
Look at that triple-digit EPS growth on Dash.
Can you say that again, please?
So you're talking about DoorDash. It has a
Yes.
triple-digit EPS growth.
Over here? Huh.
No, on the bottom.
Yes.
You can
Oh, here?
EPS growth. Yeah, EPS growth.
Yeah. Right there.
Earnings growth. Yep.
But see, but that's a little misleading. The comparison was minus 39 cents to plus 33 cents. The sales were up 25%. Sometimes when you see these big numbers, you have to look at the actual numbers. They went from minus 39 to plus 33. Over here, they went from minus 19 to plus 38. It's a young company, so they're trying to get going. ARM Holdings, energy efficient semiconductor. So here's a cup with a deep handle. Is it trying to break out or not? Let's see, WGS. They were losing a lot of money. Now they're predicting small profits. You have to be careful with some of these companies to see if you really want to put your hard-earned money. And here's Zillow. They had this giant gap down. and they're trying to claw their way back. I'm not even sure where they're on this. There's a company called, I think it's called Him and Hers or something. Look at this thing. Man, is that an all-time high too? Yeah, it is. What do they do?
Hair products and other things, lots of different things.
In March of 24, it was a $10 stock, and now it's a $60 stock. So that's a six-bagger right there. When something flies up that fast, you just sort of wonder, you know. But I'm not saying it's a bad one. It just makes me wonder, is it too late? Is there going to be, you know, like Allie likes to draw these little figures. She's pretty good at it. Is this thing going to drift down, or are we going to see a leg up? When I see something do that, I'm going to go, well, I missed that boat. I'll go look at something else. Predicting in 25, they were predicting less earnings than in 24. Look at those down red arrows. Those are giant red flags to me. I don't know if anybody has any favors. Look at this Chef's Warehouse. Distributes over 70,000 stock keeping units of specialty foods, basic ingredients, and staples. Sounds like a boring company. And look what it's done in the last 2 or 3 days here. What has happened? I don't know if they're a potential takeover target or what's driving this one higher. Interesting action. It tends to be a volatile stock, though. Look at the earnings. That's a pretty darn flat line right there, frankly. So there's a lot of things you look at before you jump in and buy a stock. On your first purchase, you don't want to put $20,000 into a company unless you have some really specialized knowledge about a company or something. You wouldn't want to put the full $20,000 on your first purchase. Maybe your first purchase is $10,000, maybe 50% on the first purchase. And if the thing goes up 2, 3, 4%, you can put, you know, maybe another 5,000 into and wait. And if it goes up another few percent, you can get fully invested. Bill O'Neill's philosophy is you never pyramid in at a lower price than your purchase, that you always pay higher when you pyramid. Some people say stock go down and buy more. From his long-term experience, that may work on a few individual stocks, but if you do that over a large number of stocks, you're probably not going to do as well as if you only pyramid on stocks as they go up. Our next meetup will be March 13th, and hopefully Haley will be able to give us his presentation on behavioral finance. So, but any questions, fine. And if I don't know the answer, we'll see if someone else on the call, maybe they know the answer.
And we look at Broadcom.
For some reason, it didn't take. Let's see, ABGRO. Apparently, they are involved in AI stuff too. If you do the formula, it's projecting to be about a $270 stock. They pay a small dividend, but it had a gap up on the last earnings. The next earnings is in the March 6th, about 3 weeks. Yeah. I note the industry on my little spreadsheet here because I want to make sure that I'm not loading up too much of my investments in any one industry. Oftentimes I'm looking for a candidate in an industry that I'm not currently invested in. I noticed on the bottom of the list, only because it was alphabetical, look at Taiwan Semiconductor. They're showing a potential like $11 a share on a PE of 28. So that's almost $300, and it's currently a $200 stock. I got green upward arrows here. This is a really, really big company. We look at a weekly. It's pretty much been doing this in a channel. We're currently at the bottom of this uptrending channel. That's just something to be aware of. I'm not trying to predict anything. Look at this green earnings line, which is a relatively new feature that they've added. that used to be only available to institutional investors on a tool called Wanda. And very recently, they put it on this weekly chart. Earnings are going up. Sales are going up. And if we're truly entering a new uptrend, I would think this one has potential. Today was a pretty hot day and the stock was down 2%. So that's a little bit of a pink flag. Did Broadcom go up today? Let's take a look.
Taiwan Semiconductor.
Well, I noticed that Broadcom was down a little bit. Did NVIDIA go up today? Oh yeah, NVIDIA had a fairly decent day. One that's been under a lot of pressure that I think went up today was Tesla. Tesla's been in a deep downtrend, but it went up 6% today, so that's interesting. The one that's sort of a sleeper stock to me is Netflix. If you look at a monthly chart of Netflix, look back here, I guess this might be the COVID crisis. So this is like $166 stock in 2022. Who would have thought a little old company like Netflix goes from 160 to 1,000? I think what they did is they put in new controls because a lot of people were sharing their passwords. And they've been picking up more customers. They're spending hundreds of millions or maybe billions making their own Netflix movies. This is a pretty interesting company. Why did Costco get all the way down to $900 a share back at the beginning of the year? $900 a share, and now it's $1,076. Like, wow. So anyway, I'm just throwing some names out and showing anybody have a company and want to see a chart? That's up.
Uber,
What's the symbol?
UBER.
Like Q, like Quebec?
No, Uber, like the car.
Oh, sorry. That's a pretty deep cup. So if you end up following the advanced strategy that IBD has taught, I don't know if that's where you would draw your downsloping line or not. Rather than waiting until it gets up to 87, if I would have drawn this a few days ago, maybe it would have looked like this. So did it already hit a buy point or not? So look at the nice volume, man. That's a big volume spike right there, but that's still pretty low over there. If you get another volume spike soon, that could be a potential early buy rather than waiting for it to get all the way up to 87. I don't know how their competitor is doing. Not so good. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? If you take Lyft and you take that's really surprising to me. On a 1-year basis, they're almost equal on performance. For some reason, Lyft has come way down, though. I can't tell. The colors are the same. They're both black. Usually they show up in color. Happened to Lyft. That did not happen to Uber. Was Uber somehow tied in with self-driving cars or Tesla? What's the hook that Uber has that maybe Lyft doesn't? Does anyone know?
Uber Eats.
You think that's a big deal?
Oh, yeah. They make a lot of money.
Okay.
Lyft has always been a distant second place to Uber.
What's the name of the Chinese car company that is
Grab.
that one?
Yeah.
It looks like they're scheduled finally next year to maybe make a 3-cent profit. All the other years they've lost money. It's an interesting stock. Look at this overhead of 16. That's pretty far back though. That's back 3 years. But wow, look at the crash from 16 down to $2.30 in just a few weeks. But what I was asking, isn't there a Chinese car company that's now making more cars than Tesla, electric cars?
BYD. BYDDF, I believe, is the symbol. Yes.
You see what they look like. Gap up yesterday. Look at the multiple gap ups. Let's do a little comparison to Tesla. Wow. They've converged. BYD is coming up and Tesla's been coming on a 1-year basis. They're almost identical, and both of them made around 90%. But
I'm just worried about Tesla because Elon's spending all this time with Doge and Trump. Is he going to have time for Tesla? Do so many things at once.
Well, he's got the rocket company, he's got the Tesla thing, he's got wife and kids. I saw a little video clip about 2 or 3 days ago where Representative AOC said he was a dumb person. And I thought, what? He's about the smartest person I ever heard about.
Well, she's a bartender and he's a rocket scientist. Well, that's kind of ironic.
I guess I'll see if any last thing. And
How many times did you get in and out this year? And are you in or out right now?
on the levers ETFs,
Yeah.
I'm personally in FNGU, TQQQ, SPYU, and FAS. And we had an interesting on January 17th, which is a Friday, and you could have even gotten in a day or two early. On Friday, January 17th, we got buy signals on UPRO, FAS, TQQQ, and I think they all had good days today. You know, TQQ is definitely, it had a definite buy signal back over here about roughly about there, at around $80. Here it is, 88. FNGU, same day, somewhere about, let's see, about over here. And FAS is, until recently, has been doing really well, but FAS has been peeled off a little bit. But the FAS buy point was right about there. So right now, the markets look favorable for these ETFs. Now, that could change. If an event or something could change, but so far, it's been a profitable strategy to pick them up on the buy signal and hold them. So I hope that answers the question. But again, we're not making any recommendations. We're just sharing information here.
Thanks.
I mentioned earlier that if you go to leveraged, LEVEREGED, EDGE, if you Google that, one of our members, Gary Taylor, set up a little small company, and he has a little service now where he has some very killer, high quality training modules on how to invest in leveraged ETFs. He helps you look for the right parameters, what numbers you should be using for your stochastics and your buy and sell positions. If you Google leveraged edge, you can find his website. He has a little service that helps not only train you to use TradingView on leveraged ETFs and how to pick up buy and sell signals. That's Gary's company. He owns it 100%. I'm not an owner in that company. I'm a member there. I've watched his videos. It's a tool and a resource. I'll just leave it at that.
You may also want to check Chinese leverage 3x YINN. That is really doing well.
Do you know what the phonetic alphabet is? Like D is Delta?
Y as Yankee, I as India, N as Nancy, N as Nancy.
YINN?
Yes.
N is November. We don't want Nancy. She's a bad person. Sorry. I shouldn't be political. So exchange traded performed 3 times the Chinese 50 index. Wow, this thing went vertical.
Before it went vertical, There was a major announcement that came out from China regarding stimulus package, and that's why it went vertical around September of last year. And now it is in a trajectory to take out that 60 and probably move higher from there on.
We almost have a poor man's double bottom. Like so, and right here's the midpoint. Maybe there was a buy point over here somewhere, you think?
Yeah, I already have a position. It's already up by 30%. The reason I have a position is I was following a link from Fidelity where it tracks which country is in the bull market or moving into the bull phase and which countries are moving into recessionary phase. And they have plotted China on the upswing and US on the downswing. So that's why I took a position in this one.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I wish you well. In the last 20 days, there's only about 4 or 5 pink or red bars and all the rest are blue. So something happened about early to mid-January where this thing has gone up like 80% in 4 weeks.
Yep.
That's incredible. Well, good luck on that one. Hopefully that works out well, but there must be a huge overhead supply for people potentially bailing out as this thing creeps a little higher. So break even, people do that.
Yeah, true.
Speaking of your friend Nancy, have you seen TEM? T like Tom. TEM.
Oh yeah, that's the one your buddy bought, right?
Yeah, no, not my buddy.
Wow, look at today, up 13. What's going on? What does this company do? Creates intelligent diagnostics through the practical application of AI in healthcare.
When it released that she had bought 50 call options on January 14th, it was $31.
Oh boy. Those call options have probably gone up in value like 10 times.
And she's got January 2026 expiration on those.
How do you know that?
It was reported. Well, people followed. She did so well, they have an ETF that's called Nancy.
Really? Oh my God.
I'm not kidding.
There's the Pelosi.
It's not just Pelosi, it's other people. They're both sides of the aisle is making a ton of money.
The one on for the Republicans is KRUZ.
Well, we're going to see if we can do a comparison window on this right now. Who's the winner? Nancy's doing better. You see that? But that's only up 27% in a year.
That's not just Nancy, that's a bunch of other people. She's up almost 75% a year.
She's done better than QQQ and SPY.
And she's not the best one. There's 3 people that have over 100%.
And then we got FNGU up 121%.
The top one had 140%.
You probably could just go to the website, just Google NANC and say, who are the players that this is based on?
But I'm just shocked to see that TEM was at $31 on January 14th when the news got out that she had bought 50 call options. And now it's at
80 with a gap up today on heavy volume.
What do you think she is up?
I would say minimum 500%. Because the options give you really good leverage.
What her husband likes to do. He buys deep in the money calls and an expiration of usually a year.
I wish everybody that has strategies on the market success. I don't wish them success if it's done illegally or on inside information, but if it's on public information, more power to them. There's enough money to go around for everybody. I heard a really interesting quote 3 or 4 months ago. It may have been by one of the IBD Live guest speakers, said that there's an opportunity of a lifetime in the market that comes our way every month. It's just up to us to find it. And it's true. We all have electronic accounts with brokers, no commissions. Theoretically, we're getting information about the same time everyone else is. So the opportunity to follow Bill O'Neill's strategies and have some decent buy and sell rules, there's really an opportunity for every person. It doesn't care what party you're with, doesn't care how old or young you are, doesn't care where you were born. The market will give you an opportunity if you just use a little bit of brain power. That's why we're doing these meetups, to help people fine-tune the way they're practicing Bill O'Neill's investing strategy. We lost Bill maybe a year ago or so, and he was one of the finest men I ever had a chance to meet, and helped change my life, that's for sure. So anything else anybody have? I'm going to send the recording out probably tomorrow afternoon or Saturday, and the recording will go out to all the 700 meetup people we have. I've got the request here from mnelson265 at AOL.com. I'll send you the link to our previous recordings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone have a great evening, and keep your eyeball on the market. It truly is a place where if you just apply a little bit of knowledge, there's an opportunity to make a big difference in your life financially. That'll allow you to help friends, family, and others, and be a blessing to a lot of people. I think that's what we have for now. I'm going to sign off. Everybody have a great evening and a happy 2025.
Thanks, Floyd. Good night.